The girl went to see the doctor after getting injured on the playground. She actually stapled her wound shut with a stapler. The doctor was instantly baffled.
Did they do this to you?
No.
Who did this to you?
I did. I didn't want to go to the doctor again, so I just stapled it. It's no biggie.
She told the doctor that she didn't get hurt at all. If he didn't believe her, he could punch her. The doctor didn't want to argue with the child. He immediately prepared to anesthetize her to remove the staples, but the girl just pulled the staples out of the wound with her bare hands, and even used her teeth to pull them out directly.
That didn't even hurt?
I have superpowers, okay?
Another doctor suggested doing cold press test to see if she was really pretending not to feel pain. The doctor came to the girl with a basin of ice water, wanting to have an ice water challenge with her. In order to make the doctor believe her, the girl agreed to his request without hesitation. Less than 2 minutes later, the doctor with a painful expression pulled out his own hand directly. Now he finally believed that the girl really couldn't feel pain. After multiple examinations, he finally confirmed that the girl had a rare condition called chronic insensitivity to pain, and that she had suffered severe abdominal trauma, resulting in extensive internal bleeding. Fortunately, the doctor discovered it in time, otherwise the consequences would have been very bad. So here's the question, do you think people without pain sensation are really fortunate? The woman finally waited long enough to find a parking spot. Just as she was about to park, another car cut her off and took the spot. She leaned out of her window to try and talk to the driver, but the driver ignored her and walked away. The woman felt helpless. After finally finding another spot in parking, she arrived at the mall, only to be pushed around by people at the entrance. After all this, her mood was completely ruined. After calming down briefly, she asked the staff where a duck that dances was located. The staff gave a half-hearted response, pointed in a vague direction and walked away.
Where's
The woman eventually found the section, only to see the toy was incredibly popular. Everyone was scrambling to grab one. Luckily, the woman managed to get the last one, but a man next to her snatched it from her hands. The woman was furious. The man shouted loudly that he had gotten the last one. Unable to bear it anymore, the woman took out her pepper spray and sprayed the man relentlessly. No matter who tried to grab the toy, she sprayed them too, venting all her frustration.
What is wrong with you people? This is not what Christmas is supposed to be! You people are animals!
At that moment, a voice came from behind her.
Get your hands up where I can see them now.
Thinking it was the police, she turned around to find a Santa Claus instead. The woman explained she just wanted to buy a Christmas gift for her daughter. Santa said he understood and asked her to hand over the pepper spray, but she suspected he was also trying to take the toy. Soon enough, the woman was arrested by the cop. The hard-won toy was confiscated as evidence. Santa wasn't spared either. The burning sensation from the pepper spray would take hours to subside. Nearby children were left crying, asking if Santa was going to die. Buck quickly comforted them, saying Santa wouldn't die. He added that Santa wasn't the real Santa Claus. Santa was dumbfounded by Buck's comment. Buck continued, telling the children that Santa wasn't real. The captain quickly stopped him, but by then the children were already heartbroken, throwing themselves into their parents' arms, deeply hurt by Buck's words.
A Marine wanted to surprise his daughter. He spent over 30 hours taking various forms of transportation to return to his hometown in Los Angeles. His heart was filled with unease, worried that the bus he was on wouldn't arrive on time, and he might miss his daughter's performance. At that moment, he noticed a man stealing a wallet. The Marine stopped him and made him return the wallet to its owner. Just then, a truck ran a red light and crashed into the bus. Firefighters quickly arrived at the scene. Strangely, most people only had minor injuries, but the thief was severely injured. The Marine held pressure on the man's bleeding wound and saved his life. A piece of glass was stuck in the thief's neck, severing an artery. Eddie told the Marine that he was also a veteran and asked him to keep pressing the wound a little longer. The Marine didn't refuse and stayed until the team stabilized the man and dressed his wound. After everything was under control, the Marine rushed to the bus to retrieve his backpack. Unfortunately, his phone had been damaged in the crash. Hearing from other passengers that the Marine was hurrying to attend his daughter's performance, Eddie invited him to ride on their fire truck. They drove the truck at full speed to take him to the event. Along the way, the team helped the soldier tidy up his uniform, encouraging and cheering him on. At that moment, the soldier's daughter had already started singing when she suddenly noticed her father in the crowd. She excitedly ran off the stage. The Marine, with tears in his eyes, walked straight forward and embraced his wife and daughter tightly. The audience erupted into loud applause. Both Buck and Eddie were moved to tears. On a night close to Christmas, a worker named Brandon was working overtime. Suddenly, he noticed that the conveyor belt had stopped. He climbed onto it to check the malfunction. At that moment, the robotic arm suddenly activated. He couldn't dodge in time and was struck, falling into a box and losing consciousness. Foam padding continued to pour and burying him. The other workers, unaware, kept packing boxes, sealing them and attaching shipping labels. The box with Brandon still alive inside was sent out. A few minutes later, Brandon woke up. He immediately called 911, telling the dispatcher Maddie that he was trapped in a box. box. No matter how much he struggled, he couldn't get out. Meanwhile, the air inside the box was running out, and he began to feel his breathing grow labored. At the same time, Brandon felt the box stop moving, thinking it was the rescue team. He soon realized the box was being loaded onto a plane. This meant that once the plane took off, Brandon trapped inside would suffocate during the long transport. Fortunately, the firefighters arrived in time. They successfully intercepted the plane before takeoff. The firefighters boarded the cargo hold. Using a stethoscope, they located the box he was in. They found Brandon had passed out due to lack of oxygen. They immediately pulled him out, wrapped him in a thermal blanket, and took turns performing CPR. Finally, Brandon's pulse returned, and his body temperature began to rise. At that moment, the phone rang again. Brandon said, "The 911 dispatcher, Maddie, told me not to answer the phone. She said she would call back, so you could find me by the sound." Brandon, overwhelmed with relief, thanked Maddie. Maddie was relieved too. He had almost been sent off as a Christmas gift. What kind of danger could happen at an automatic car wash? An employee called the firefighters, saying he encountered a strange customer today. The customer had been warned not to open the car door during the car wash, but he didn't listen. At this moment, he was trapped under the car. Kelly entered to check the situation. The splashing water and foam made it impossible for him to open his eyes. He continued walking in. Finally, he found the man under the brushes. The man's thigh was severely crushed. Kelly quickly asked where the emergency button was, but pressing it several times did not work. After coming out, he instructed the squad team to grab the equipment and prepare for rescue. He also told another team to find a way to cut off the power inside as soon as possible. The firefighters successfully located the sub-panel on the wall. They pried open the lock. After shutting off all the switches, the machine finally stopped. However, water continued to spray out. Another firefighter successfully located the valve and cut off the water supply. Kelly asked the man why he had gotten out of the car. The man explained that he was on a phone call, but didn't realize the car window was open. When he tried to close the window, he accidentally opened the door. They quickly brought in the jaws of life to lift the car. The man screamed in pain. Eventually, he was successfully rescued. The man's leg bone was severely fractured. A paramedic gave him a shot for the pain and immediately transported him to the hospital. A man shouted for help. The firefighters looked up. The man was stuck on the fire escape stairs and pinned down. Debris was still falling from above. The situation was extremely critical. The firefighters split into two teams. Kelly led the squad team to the rooftop, planning to rappel down. Casey and Gallo went to the third floor to assist.
Can't see the victim.
Gallo spotted the man. When Casey learned that Kelly on the rooftop would need a few more minutes to rappel down due to the urgency, they decided Gallo would get down to the man with the bailout rope.
It's like truck feed us to it. Stand down, Cap. I'll go assist.
The agile Gallo quickly reached the man. At that moment, the man's leg was pinned under heavy debris. Gallo tried using the tool to lift the debris, but it didn't work well. By then, Kelly had already rappelled down from the rooftop. Together, they used all their strength to lift the heavy debris.
You couldn't wait for us, huh?
But you always tell me every second matters.
The man was finally rescued. In the park plaza, a giant Christmas tree collapsed. Firefighters quickly arrived at the scene. A woman told them a strong gust of wind had just passed through. Many passersby were trapped under the tree only by cutting off the branches. Could the trapped individuals be rescued as soon as possible? They first evacuated the nearby onlookers, then brought chainsaws and began their operation. As the branches were gradually sawed off and the branches were removed, the children trapped underneath were successfully rescued. Fortunately, they only suffered minor injuries. The rescue work continued, and one by one, the trapped individuals were successfully saved. But at that moment, they discovered someone inside who was unresponsive. They quickly brought a chainsaw to cut through the branches above, then crawled inside to take a look. They found an elderly man named Hugh severely injured and immobile. They hurriedly cleared away the surrounding branches. Hugh's wife suddenly screamed. It turned out she saw a branch piercing through his body. The firefighter kept talking to him to keep him conscious. Soon after, a paramedic came to examine him. She first gave Hugh a shot for the pain. Then firefighter brought tool to lift the entire trunk. At this point, Hugh had already lost consciousness. The firefighters worked together to drag him out from underneath. The paramedics brought gauze to stabilize the branch, then cut it off. He needed to be sent to the hospital immediately. Fortunately, thanks to timely rescue, Hugh was out of danger. A few days later, a fire truck stopped at the hospital entrance. It turned out that today was Hugh's discharge day. Knowing that he had always wanted to dress as Santa Claus to hand out gifts to children, the firefighters drove the fire truck to help him fulfill his dream. They also brought Christmas presents for the children. Seeing the happy smiles on the children's faces, Hugh was moved to tears. This would be the most precious gift he had received this year.